And so you see, now he's saying, you're the worst, and you have no excuse. Well, hold up. If they have an excuse, I have an excuse. You're right. They have no excuse. Okay, well then I have just as much of no excuse as them. No, you're worse. Why? Well, you have all the information. Well, but I'm better, and that's the problem. That's why you're worse, because you're judging them. Well, what do you mean? Because you are not God. You know that God's judgment is coming. Well, yes, of course. We just went over that. Yes, and you know it's coming on those who practice such things. Well, yes, of course. We know that. Problem is you do such things. Right? And so, we know that the judgment of God rightly falls on those who practice such things. Verse 3, do you suppose, O man, I love you can hear kind of the poison in there. Do you suppose, O man, you who judge those who practice such things and yet do them for yourself, that you will escape the judgment of God? Do you think you're special?
Oh man. Boy, oh boy.
Do you see it? Have you, after all this, is that your conclusion, that you think God is going to stop being righteous on your account? Are you really that ignorant? Do you see it?
And it goes back to the prodigal son's brother. Remember, he was obeying, he was doing the right things, and he wasn't even happy when his brother came back because his heart was so in the wrong place.
Yes, only difference is they're much worse than the older brother. And we are much worse than the older brother. At least the older brother was obeying.
True.
You see what I mean? Like, it's even worse. I get your point, but it's even worse than that. And so now he's telling them, do you suppose? And by the way, if you ever say that in a sentence, you'll see the setup. If you ever tell someone, do you suppose, and then you finish that sentence, whatever it is, you're being sarcastic, right? Always. Do you suppose that you can look at me like that and get away with it? Right? It's always. Is that what you think? Are you that stupid?
Yeah, you want
that's his
problem?
point
You're
here.
mad at you.
Right. That's his point here. Do you think that you have an escape hatch? That for you, God will stop being. Are you that? Do you think you're that special? Yes, sir.
That hit me, but it'll process. Do you suppose?
Do I?
Because I was just thinking, like, in my own life, I am not prone to condemn. Or judge certain people for doing certain things, or so I think. But outwardly.
Outwardly. It's a good keyword.
Confrontationally.
Right. That's a good keyword
But do I do it up here?
Mm-hmm.
Constantly.
Yeah, it's the same
all
thing.
the time.
It's the same thing.
Outwardly.
That may be even worse, right?
Yeah, and that's what I'm getting at, because at first I thought it was, okay, is it just because I don't judge anyone? You know, maybe I do some of those things or whatever, but I don't judge. But I don't even think that could be possible.
It's an attitude of the heart, and we all have it.
Yeah.
In varying degrees, but we all have it. This idea of being able to once in a while say, if I was God, they'd never make it into heaven. It's judging. The second we try to put ourselves in the seat. And I love how Paul defends those that are being judged constantly. One of my favorite sections I love to quote about this, I didn't quote it 2 weeks ago, was when he says, you say that he's going to fall. How dare you say that? It is before his master that he's going to stand or fall. And he's going to stand. Why? Because his master is able to make him stand.
Yeah.
Right? You are saying that someone else is going to get in trouble with God. It's like, ooh, you're in trouble? What do you know? It's between them and God. You're in trouble, so you should get back to worrying about you. Right? So, bringing it back. Do you suppose that you will escape the judgment of God? Because clearly, you're judging others. You must think that the rules don't apply to you. You must think that you are that good, right? He's hitting those two areas we just hit. Do you think that God's law is so low, or do you think that your sinfulness is so low? Either way, you really think you can escape? Go ahead.
I have a question.
I have an answer, Lord willing.
Because
Probably
okay,
not.
can it be a lesser severity of
Clarify.
applying this to, for instance, like there's a song by Hillsong.
Are you sitting in the seat of
With
God?
everything.
No.
Or are you sitting in the seat of God?
So when
Are
you
you
make
sitting
this
in the
thought
seat of
process, are you sitting in the seat of God?
Of course.
You sure about that?
You sure?
Well, what is it?
Think about
What you
were
were
about to say
what you were preparing to say.
about Hillsong.
To say it.
Are you going
Are
to?
you sitting in the seat of God? Are you making a declaration that only God has the ultimate authority to make? Something they once taught us at work for our reps, right? Because we don't say, you are, what is it? You don't respect me. Can't say that. It seems like, from your actions, that maybe you don't respect me. See the difference? One of them is making a declarative statement. The other is saying, based on what I see, this is what I'm gathering.
Based on the evidence that is gathered,
However, I might not have all the evidence.
this is what it looks like. Could it be other things? Yeah.
Right.
But
Too small.
And that's something that they do in corporate cultures for a reason.
yeah,
Because if you just say, you are, I can answer, I'm not.
yeah.
And now it's on you to prove that I am.
But then, the moment you say what it seems like, then there's no rebuttal because they're not technically putting all the blame on you.
But what were you going to say?
Hmm.
So that we can help you with the question.
I don't even remember.
You said of less severity. No, what was the question? If you remember it.
Well, it's like it would help if I remember the song title. 'Cause there's
It's
this song that
irrelevant.
the girl singer, she says she basically cusses in it. She
Okay.
says hell. But
Hell is not a cuss word.
Oh, even when it hurts.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
it's,
hurts
there's
like
a
lyric.
stanza that says even when it hurts like hell.
Even when it hurts like that.
I'm pretty
That
sure they mean that as a technical term.
That's
It's not a cuss
adjective,
word.
yeah.
Right, but it has always bothered me.
Okay.
So can you apply this to that? Like saying, well, who am I to judge them in that?
Well, it depends on how far your
Or who
thought
am I
goes
to-
with it. Sure. If your thought stops with that bothers me, there's nothing wrong with that. If your thought stops with what kind of person would they be to be able to say that,
The
getting in
moment
nervous
you,
territory.
the moment you start questioning, are they a believer
integrity.
in their
Or even their person.
yeah.
And
Oh, they must have
that's
grown
why
up in
I
the
bring
ghetto.
this up.
That's why they said hell.
Because
Be careful.
I'm guilty of doing that.
Because I don't think hell is a cuss word. Because
No, hell is a technical term. That's like saying, that looks like New York. How dare you? That's not an insult.
Well, I don't want to get.
I mean, it could be an
hung
insult,
up
but,
on
you know.
that word specifically.
Right.
The
But yeah, so the key is, that's why I was saying the key is going to be, it's a heart stance. It is a stance of, is it saying that bothers me? Is it saying this is something I'm concerned about? You have a right to be concerned about whatever you want. But the second it becomes what kind of person must they be for this to happen? We're now sitting in judgment seat.
or they, oh, you know what I mean. Even a question like
They're
they're not allowed to say that.
Right, you are sitting in the judgment seat, judging the case of
Who are you
Hillsong
to
versus
say
the
they're
world.
not allowed to say that? You know what I mean? The moment you start making up rules because of your own emotions and your own convictions is a moment that's real judgment. Because that's where judgment comes from your own guilty conscience and from your own convictions, putting it on others.
But you don't have to make up rules, because a lot of our judgment,
Yeah.
we use rules that are already there.
But it doesn't have to necessarily be in that same sector, because that's why he said.
They do these things.
Yeah.
All
These
the things that
That's
we're
why it's
Aha.
very
That's why we have-
inclusive.
we have no authority to ever make a judgment statement on anyone. In the technical sense of judgment, because we're talking about what we're talking about here, we have no authority to make that ever. Period.
I think that's so common
It is.
with churches judging other churches, pastors judging other
Oh,
pastors.
yes.
I've heard so many times of a church being so condemned in the light of their church. It's like there's no comparison.
And mind you, that's again going to be different from critiquing. It's going to be different from, having those conversations, even calling each other out in some cases. But the second it changes, there's a shift in the heart. It's very different if you're approaching someone trying to help them and sharing encouragement with them, or even sharing harsh truth with them, hopefully in love. But that's very different from judging. When you are judging someone, you are sitting in the seat of God. So stop and think. Is this a call that only God gets to make? If it is, back up.
And I think that goes into the verse when you take the log out of your own eye before you take the speck out. It's really going before God and questioning what you're about to do. Being right with God first before you make a second move. And, you know what I mean? Really, really getting down and gritty with yourself and God before you make a statement that might or might not be judgmental